you. Good morning, good morning to you. Good morning, good morning. Won't you share with a friend or two? Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning to you. And many more. And many more. And many more. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you're having a great and wonderful morning. Bear with me. I am trying to get one of my tools back into my phone that has jumped out. So I hope you're having a beautiful, beautiful morning. It is a little on the chilly side and rainy here in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. But nevertheless, it is going to be a great day. It is Wednesday. It's Relationship Wednesday for us. And if you are new to our broadcast, as we are wrapping up this um, series, as we are wrapping up this season, just want to briefly share with you what we do Monday through Friday. We are going to be taking a break very soon, but you will see some opportunities to join us for some private group sessions that are absolutely free. So you'll be able to participate in those in June. And I will drop the link to one of them that's coming up. I'll drop the link to it after this video processes so you all will see the link to register. Um, and that's going to be a writer's workshop. We'll be talking about ways to improve your writing. And then, if you are interested in publishing your own work, we will be giving some helpful tips about things that you can do to prepare you to produce your work independently. It is a workshop that I have held before that has allowed other writers to go on and to produce and self publish without any problem. So it is helpful information. I try not to give out anything that I have not done myself, that I have not had a hand in. So again, that workshop is going to be on June 7th. And after this video processes, I will be sure to come back and put the registration link down in the comment section for those of you who want to register. The registration will close once we cap at 100 people, because that's, I think, all that the broadcast will be able to hold at that time. So if you are interested in learning how to improve your writing, or if you're interested in learning what are some things I need in order to make sure I'm ready to produce my own publishing work, you want to be in on that workshop. Again, it's going to be on June 7th. This week, we are wrapping up our season. So, one moment, okay? All right. So I want us to start off. This is Relationship Wednesday. Mondays, we usually cover motivation. Tuesdays, we are usually on our Black Table Talk page talking about Black history, Black people, Black polity, all things concerning Black people. Wednesdays, we're talking about relationships. So that's where we are today. Thursdays, we are talking theology, philosophy, belief systems. And then Friday, we wrap it up with talking about finance and health. All right. So, again, this week is our last week for this season. We'll be taking a full station break, but we are going to do some workshops in June. I will be posting the workshop information with the links for you to register. And then July is our Sabbath. We take a sabbatical and then we'll be back, um, provided our country doesn't fall apart. We'll be back in August, Monday through Friday, with season 16. Okay? All right. Let's read a devotional here. I'm going back a little bit, so I'm not actually reading the day. I'm not actually reading the day of, but some of these we missed, and I want to make sure that I share them with you. This one is entitled Different Strokes for Different Folks. Nipsey Russell, comedian, said, "Not everyone likes chocolate ice cream." For years, the best coaches have used the same technique to build successful teams. They accept the fact that different players possess varying but equally important skills. Some players are fast runners, while others can kick or hit a ball great distances. The trick is to put each player into a position that emphasizes his strengths and minimizes his weaknesses. The following fable demonstrates the power of this skill. Once upon a time, the animals of the forest decided to develop a school. They developed the curriculum of running, climbing, swimming, and flying. All of the animals took all of the courses. As you might guess, the duck was excellent in swimming, in fact, better than the instructor, but he only made passing grades in flying and was poor in running. Since he was slow in running, he had to drop swimming and stay after school to practice his sprints. This caused his web feet to blister. As a result, he became only average in swimming. The rabbit started at the top of his class in running, but developed a nervous twitch in his leg muscles because of so much makeup work in swimming. The squirrel was excellent in climbing, but encountered constant frustration in flying class because his teacher made him take off from the ground instead of the treetops. He developed a Charlie horse from overexertion and consequently lagged in climbing and running. The eagle was disciplined for being a nonconformist because he beat all the others to the top of the tree in climbing, but insisted on using his own way of getting there. The moral of the story is obvious. You must identify your greatest strength as well as the strengths of those around you. Utilize your strengths. Good morning, good morning, everyone that is coming in. And I like this ending lesson on this one because it says, "Today I understand that difference does not mean inferior." Now, that is a lesson I think that our government could actually stand to use right about now. That difference does not mean inferior. What do you all think? I think that that is a good food for thought for today. That when I see someone doing something different, right? Excuse me. That when I see someone doing something different, it does not mean that it's inferior. It just means that it's different. All right. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel because we are going to go ahead and go to our subscriber only mode. All right. And you have to be subscribed at least for a minute in order to comment at this point. The two books that we're looking at today are two books that we have been in for the entire season, and we are still working through them because why? There is a lot to talk about. We're getting through them. We'll probably be back in them again on in season 16. So if you want to catch up between now and August, this is a good time to catch up. The first book we're looking at is Drama Free, a guide to managing unhealthy family relationships. So this is all about your family dynamic. And Set Boundaries, Find Peace, a guide to reclaiming yourself. So this is all about your personal and individual boundaries. We're going to start in chapter 9, and we're just going to read the first section here about the significance of having boundaries with yourself. Chapter 9, what are you doing to honor your boundaries? We hear a lot of talk about boundaries, but the question today is, what are you doing to honor your boundaries? Because before we teach others to respect our boundaries, we must learn to honor them ourselves. A lot of times, um, people feel run over in their relationship, sometimes because you look up and you see, man, this person is not honoring or respecting anything that I asked of them or anything I asked them to do. But then when you start self evaluating, you start saying, maybe I'm not the one that's holding to my boundaries. So they feel like it's okay to cross them because they see me not holding on to them. So let's talk about that a little bit today. The author scenario. Kyle received a raise, and as soon as the money hit his bank account, he was off to get a new car. As far as he was concerned, he deserved that car for all of his hard work during the year. He believed in working hard and rewarding himself for it. In fact, every time he got a bonus or raise, he treated himself to a new expensive gift: watches, designer clothes, and sometimes vacations. Yet, despite what it looked like on the outside, Kyle lived paycheck to paycheck and was drowning in $25,000 of credit card debt. He had no savings, and he regularly borrowed money from his father to stay afloat. He hated the idea of not being able to splurge on whatever he wanted, but he suffered the consequences of that attitude. Kyle began seeing me at the urging of his father, following a brush with late car payments. He had agreed to get a grip on his finances. He appeared before me well dressed and intelligent, but broke. At first, he was hesitant to open up to me because he didn't see the point. He thought that if he just got through the next few months, everything would be fine. How often have you said that to yourself? I asked him. He seemed shocked. He knew he had a pattern of overspending, but he had to admit that every time his financial situation got bad, he would say to himself, I just need to get through the next few months. Unfortunately, those months turned into years of overspending his money and the need to be bailed out by his father. Even when Kyle had more money, he spent it on something bigger and better than what he'd had before. Kyle was just unable to say no to himself. The thought of depriving himself made him cringe. During our second visit, I had him list his long term financial goals. He included saving for retirement, buying a home, paying off his car, and retiring early. After he completed his list, I asked, now, how do you plan to meet those goals? Good morning. Kyle spoke about how these were long term goals, not anything he'd be able to achieve in the next year or two. After further discussion, I discovered that he'd had these same goals for 5 years earlier, but he had not made any forward movement towards them. His goals were unattainable because he had unhealthy boundaries with his finances. As long as he spent money right when he received it, he wouldn't be able to move beyond living paycheck to paycheck. Knowing that he had goals to spend his money more wisely, he began to talk about useful boundaries that might help him achieve the goals, such as saving, spending less, and delaying gratification. The significance of having boundaries with yourself. It's hard to change your habits if you never change the underlying beliefs that led to your past behavior. You have a new goal and a new plan, but you haven't changed who you are. James Clear. So think about that. I know for me, um, I had to change some of my underlying beliefs about a lot of things. I would say probably the last maybe 9, 10 years, I've had to revamp and I've had to renovate my own personal beliefs and my own personal thinking. And she's going to list some things or some areas where you might be in a renovation process. Maybe you start this summer. Maybe it's the way you think about your body, right? Or maybe it's the way you think about your finances in his case. Maybe it's the way you think about your time management. I know a lot of people right now have decided They're going to steward their time better. They're going to limit where they give their time to. They're going to increase their time in other areas of their life. They're going to limit their access of their time to certain people. Why? Because they're in this process of changing their underlying beliefs. I know for me, with time, it took me a year to shift from just being available to anybody to saying, I'm going to carve out time for myself. I am going to carve out time for study. I'm going to carve out time for reading. Yes, I have reading time carved out in my day every single day where all I do is read. And some people are like, what? You read every day? Absolutely. I read when I'm not on camera. I like to read. And so something as simple as that, people tend to think, oh, that's something you did in school, or that's something you had to do when you were in college. No, if I enjoy reading, I'm going to carve out some time where I get to read, even if it's only 10 minutes, even if it's only a commitment to a book, and to say, I'm going to read at least a paragraph or I'm going to read at least a chapter. Making and setting that boundary with yourself starts with the small things. I know sometimes people say, I'm going to set a boundary and it's so big, but start with something small. That's what I recommend. Start with something small. Maybe you have not been making time for yourself at all. So start by saying every single day, I'm going to take at least 10 minutes and it's going to be me time. It's going to be my time, my quiet time, my time to, turn on the radio, listen to some music, drink a cup of coffee or tea, and just relax. It starts with a small boundary. So even if you feel like you can't set aside huge amounts of time, start with a small thing. But part of that was changing my underlying belief that I had a right to my own quiet time. I had a right to sit in solitude without being called upon by someone else. People used to just call me all the time and be like, "Hey, what you doing?" Now I don't get as many of those calls because the when I started regulating my time, and as talked about before, I went through a whole year of telling people no. I started to wean off people who were just calling just because they could, or they were just calling to say, oh, let me call her. I know she'll do it for me. Right. So you have to start with yourself and be honest with yourself about what are your underlying beliefs that make it easy for people to feel like they can cross a boundary with you. What are your underlying beliefs that's keeping you in a past behavior that you want to change? Sometimes it really isn't other people, it is us. And we should be honest about that. The writer says, when we think about boundaries, we tend to think about what others need to do to make things better for us. While other people indeed have an impact on our lives, we make personal decisions daily that affect the quality of our lives and who we are. With self boundaries, we consider how we impact ourselves. Kyle was choosing to be an overspender, and he was the only person responsible for it. He was the one who decided to buy things he couldn't afford, so he needed to implement boundaries for himself and his spending if he wanted to be healthier and reach his own financial goals. Kyle's finances and his issues are hardly unique. According to debt.org, the average American carries a credit card balance of $8,398 and has at least 4 credit cards. The total U.S. consumer debt is 13.86 trillion, which includes our mortgages, auto loans, credit cards, and student loans. A recent Charles Schwab study showed that 59% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Far too many Americans live without savings, emergency funds, as we call it, life happens funds, or retirement funds. When they experience a small financial setback, everything can fall apart. It's a boundary issue because we lack the willingness to tell ourselves no to whatever we want. But it's a dangerous way to say yes to every urge without limits. This doesn't happen because we want to damage ourselves, but because we lack healthy self boundaries. The ability to say no to yourself is a gift. If you can resist your own urges, change your habits, and say yes to only what you deem to be truly meaningful, you'll be practicing healthy self boundaries. It's your responsibility to care for yourself without excuses. Here's a list of some areas where self boundaries are helpful, and she's going to go into these in detail, but we will get to that hopefully next season. But I'm just going to list the areas that you might want to think about checking off, just doing a mental check and saying, do I have self boundaries in this area? And if I don't, do I need them? And if I need them, when should I get started on them? Here's a list. The first one, as she just talked about, your finances. What kind of boundaries? Ask yourself, what kind of self boundaries do I have with my finances? Do I have boundaries around spending? Do I have boundaries around, I know for me, for the holidays, I start holiday shopping around about June, July. I start looking around, thinking about what kinds of gifts I want to give to people. Um, I start thinking about the fact that service and postal service prices are starting to change. I know this is a weird sidebar. But the prices are starting to go up, and they usually do go up around holiday time. So I think about what kinds of gifts can I give people that's still going to be within my shipping budget, because a lot of people get gifts, right? And then they go to the post office and they're trying to mail things off. And then they realize the shipping is astronomical. And sometimes the shipping is more than the gift that you bought. So I try to factor that in. How much do I need to spend in shipping? How much do I want to spend for gifts? Would I do I want to give a physical gift this year, or should I invest in just doing gift cards? What's the trade-off? Should I give money? Sometimes I do money gifts through, like Cash App or PayPal. So, what are your boundaries? My boundaries around finances definitely come when it comes to holiday shopping and giving. I have boundaries around that. Your time management. Do you have any boundaries around your time? Are there parts of your day that are off limits to other people and you only reserve that time for yourself? Do you have time boundaries with your family? Do you tell people, I'm sorry, I'm unavailable at this time because I invest this time in my family? People will actually respect that if you actually say that. But if you kind of leave people lingering and you never say, hmm, maybe I should tell them that I don't ever want to meet during this time because this is the time that I spend with my family, they might not know. But that's certainly a time management issue for me. I tell my clients that I'm working with, there's a certain time that I cut off from meeting with clients. I don't go past a certain time in the evening. Why? Because I want to spend time with my husband. We want to talk about our day. We want to have time together. We want to eat together. And so this is my cutoff time. How about we schedule on at this time here? And people tend to respect that. Now, if you get a person that doesn't respect your time management, then you should already know what to do there. Your self care. Do you have self boundaries around your self care? The treatment you allow from others. Now, this is a big one for me because I know that the world is very loose with their language when it comes to each other. But there's just certain words that I don't want directed at me, not even in friendship or conversation. Like the B word. I don't want anybody calling me that. I'm not a female dog. My friends don't call me that. So if you're going to be my friend, I'm going to be that friend that tells you, don't call me that. That's my boundary. Now, if you don't mind people calling you that, that's on you. But as for me, I don't answer to that word. I don't answer to the N word. Those are not what I consider to be friendship words. For other people, they love it. You can call them that all the time. For me, mm-mm, we're not doing that. Um, Another thing that I do say to people, I don't try to police their language, right? But I will tell you, in a conversation with me, you're not going to hear profanity come from me. Now, if you are a person who curses like a sailor, that's your prerogative. I'm not going to stop you. But I've already gone over the reasons why I don't do it. So, out of respect for my own boundary, you're not going to hear me talk to you that way. So, think about it. What kind of treatment do you allow from others? Your thoughts. Yes. Do you have boundaries around your thoughts? Or do you just let your thoughts run away? I used to just let my thoughts run away, and they used to run away right to disaster. Yes, there is something known as disaster thinking, where you are contemplating all of the possible wrongs that could go wrong and trying to figure out, well, what would happen if this happens here? And then I'm going to make a play to do that. Disaster thinking. You can stop talking to yourself in a worrisome way. You can stop the thoughts by interrupting them. So if you're thinking negative thoughts, you literally can say out loud, stop. This is not going to happen. I don't need to worry about this. Everything is going to be okay. And you can interrupt that train of thought. You can start talking to yourself in an unkind way. Some of us have a habit that when things don't go well, we start talking to ourselves in an unkind way. We start saying things like, you dummy, you idiot. But we're usually directing those comments to ourselves. So, do you have boundaries around the way that you talk to yourself? Do you have boundaries around your reactions? Oh boy. Because some of us, our face does all the talking for us. Have you created some boundaries around that? If something goes wrong in this scenario, I'm going to not let it show on my face. I'm going to do the very best I can to not let it show on my face. I'm going to refrain from the facial response that I want to give. And do you have boundaries around the people you allow in your life? Do you have boundaries around the people you allow in your life? Now, we know in real time, and we have seen probably from our own life, what happens when we fail to have boundaries around the people we allow in our life. Some people don't recover from it. Some people get caught up in being with the wrong people at the wrong place at the wrong time. And because there was no boundary around the persons that they had around them, sometimes they're caught in the crossfire of someone else's bad decisions, someone else's bad attitude, someone else's bad running off at the mouth and writing a check they couldn't cash. And so maybe it wasn't you, right? But because of the people that you're around, you wind up being in the crossfire of whatever's going on with them. Probably the most vivid case of that I could think about recently would be the singer or the rapper, the Migos family, right? They were out and about and they were, I think, at a bowling alley or something like that. And somebody got into an argument, but the person who was unalived had nothing to do with the argument. They were just in the crosshairs of it, but they're not here anymore. Can't rewind that tape. So think about that. Do you have boundaries around the people who are around you? One segment here from Drama Free, the unhealthy family relationship. This chapter, we've been talking about building support outside of your family, talking about chosen family. Supporting yourself is what we're going to cover today, just this section. Supporting yourself. When you don't have the support from blood or chosen family that you'd like, you can be for yourself what you wish others would be. You can teach yourself what you'd like others to teach you. What you're searching for in others lies within you. Supporting yourself looks like striving to be the best version of yourself and offering yourself grace along the way. Here are 5 ways to support yourself if you don't have chosen family or you don't feel that you have enough support from your blood relatives. Number 1, get to know yourself. As you learn more about yourself, you become more aware of your own needs, desires, likes, and dislikes. Changing is a part of the process as well. Therefore, what you like may change from year to year. Knowing who you are helps you to be clear with others about your preferences and needs. Things that she's recommending that I also use are guided journals, workbooks, therapy, and meaning conversations are wonderful ways to develop a deeper understanding of yourself. In therapy, I've wondered out loud the reason behind some of my choices, and I've given myself grace for not always making the best decisions. Number 2, reduce self neglect. Take, as much as possible, impeccable care of yourself. Give yourself pep talks. Take warm baths. Go to the doctor regularly for checkups. We can't stop others from neglecting us, but we can stop neglecting ourselves. We can stop ignoring the needs that we have physically. She gives an example of a young woman by the name of Tanisha. Tanisha's mother didn't take her to the dentist during her childhood except when she was in crisis with a toothache or she had a chipped tooth. So she began to associate her trips to the dentist with pain. As she learned to take better care of herself, she began to go to the dentist as recommended for preventative care and maintenance, not only in a crisis. Now, I can actually relate to that because growing up, I always have had some kind of trauma around my teeth and literally just went to the dentist last week. They did with their new technology, they did a 3D skull and they showed me all of my teeth. Now, hereditary and on the hereditary side, I know that I have lots of teeth problems, but they were able to show me in full 3D in color what my problems were, gave me a comprehensive plan, talked about the things that I would need to do, talked about the levels of care that I would need to go to, and gave me a laid out plan of what I needed to do first, and second, and third, and fourth. When I've gone to the dentist, it usually has not been a good experience because the dentists have taken a look at my teeth and said, oh my gosh, this is hard, this is difficult, you're going to need multiple specialists to do X, Y, and Z. We don't have the people here, we don't have the manpower, we're going to have to refer you out. But I didn't get any of that still, probably for the first time in my life. I'm over 45. So that was a great experience for me. I walked away from the dentist feeling confident that I had a plan, that I had some next steps, and it was something that was doable. So When it comes to yourself, I totally agree with this. Reduce your own self neglect. And if you have trauma around those things, be willing to say to whatever place you might be going to. Maybe it's a massage therapist, maybe it is just a doctor in general. Be willing to say, look, I haven't always had a good experience when it came to this. I have some trauma around this. So I'm going to give you grace, but I also need you to give me grace. And be honest, whatever part of that maintenance is, be honest with the person that's going to be working with you. Number three, trust yourself. You won't always make the best decisions, but the more of them you make, the better a decision maker you will become. Maybe you have been the person that has typically left all of the decision making in the hands of other people. A lot of people, believe it or not, tend to let other people run their life. I know it's weird, but whether that is their spouse and they just say, well, whatever they want to do, I do it. Okay. What do you want to do? Whether that be a parent. I've never really, I've had some friends that have never really had to think because their parent still swoops in and does all of the thinking for them. So think about that. Do you trust yourself and your own judgment? Or do you have other people pretty much making all of the important primary decisions in your life? Avoid decisions. Avoiding decisions keeps you in limbo and doesn't improve your outcomes. The key to trusting yourself is offering yourself grace when things do not go as planned, knowing that you acted in your best interest. This is so powerful. Maybe I chose for myself and it didn't work out. Maybe I fell flat on my face. That's happened to me a couple times. But I can say within myself, I chose and I moved with the best intention for myself. So maybe it didn't work out. Maybe I failed. Maybe I didn't get the job. Maybe I didn't make as much money on a project as I thought I was going to make. Maybe I didn't make the connection that I wanted to make romantically. Maybe my friendship went bust. But I trusted myself. I guided myself. I went in with the best intentions, and I'm going to keep on going in with the best intentions. I'm going to keep learning to trust myself. I'm going to keep honing my own instincts so that I do better on the next time. A lot of times I hear this phrase, especially with women, she should have chose better. If she didn't want to be in a horrible relationship, she didn't want to have a terrible outcome, she should have chose better. Okay, well, she didn't choose better. So what? So what? She didn't choose better, but she went in with the best intentions for herself. She was honest. She got played. Somebody was deceitful on the other end of the equation. That person never gets any of the smoke, by the way. They never get any of the smoke for being a shyster, a liar, a manipulator, a deceiver, or any of that. The smoke usually goes to the woman. Fine. She should have chose better, but she has an opportunity to choose again. She has an opportunity to do better. And guess what? She went in with the best intention for herself. She's going to keep doing that. She's going to keep learning how to trust herself. And I encourage anybody to keep on. Don't let a bad outcome stop you from learning how to trust yourself. Offer yourself grace when things do not go as planned. Even some of the best decision makers mess up from time to time. We see others as great decision makers because we are unaware of how many times they've actually jacked up. You do realize some of the most successful people in the world are not going to be sharing with you every time they jack up. They're not going to share with you every time a deal falls through and they lose millions of dollars. You might have only lost 100. They're losing millions. They're not going to share that with you. As Nelson Mandela said, do not judge me by my successes, judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again. So, did you get back up? Or did you stay down in the dirt, wallowing in your mistake or wallowing in your failure? Number four, focus on your needs. When taking care of others and operating in crisis have been the norm, it can be hard to unlearn the belief that taking care of others is more important than taking care of yourself. Your needs may not be more important than those of others, but yours are most important for yourself. The writer says, when my children were babies, I quickly learned that my ability to produce milk for them was directly tied to my ability to care for myself. I had to nurture myself by resting, drinking enough water, and minimizing emotional distractions. In this way, mothering my babies taught me a few lessons about mothering myself. When you're operating at a deficit, you have a lot less to give. And lastly, be who you need. It is a cliche, but it is true. Sometimes you can't find a person to fill the role, so you have to do the job yourself. Be the person you would have looked up to in childhood. Make yourself proud by becoming what you wish existed in your own family. Think about that. Be the person you would have looked up to in childhood. Now, I am very thankful and fortunate that I had plenty of people in my family that were supportive. I had people in my family that I could look up to in childhood. But I also had people in my family that I looked at and I said, absolutely not. I don't want to be anything like this person. And maybe some of you are there. Maybe some of you are like, I'm looking at my family and I don't see any role models. I don't see anybody that, I look to and say, I want to be like that. Maybe that is you. But as the writer said, think about being the person that you would have wanted to look up to in childhood. Did you want somebody to be your cheerleader? Be your own cheerleader today. Did you want somebody that you could confide in? Start confiding in yourself. Get you a journal. Please invest in some journals this summer, especially if you like to write. Get you some journals. And don't just, I know some people will go out and just get like a plain notebook, but let me show you some. All right. And then we'll go into our talk back. Now, I have all kind of journals because I like to write. And so I keep a stack of journals available to kind of help me decide what kind of writing I want to do or what mood I am in based on my mood. So this is a standard journal. Maybe I am focusing on how I feel around food and how I feel around my eating habits. Maybe I don't want to start with all of these things in terms of boundaries, but maybe I want to look at my boundaries around food, my boundaries around eating, my boundaries around how I take care of myself when it comes to eating. Am I eating enough? Am I not eating enough? Am I overeating? Am I eating too late at night? Am I forgetting to eat? I know some of you all are out there that leave your food in the microwave all day and forget that you never got it out the microwave and ate it. I'm talking to you too. So maybe I want to have a journal that is just basic and I've got some nice healthy things on the front that's going to motivate me to get in here and just talk about food, my boundaries around it. All right, maybe I am a little more on the creative side, okay? And I want to look at my boundaries around time management. This one is called The Big Plans, right? So I already know what it's about. This one has got tabs in it, and it's got some options. So I can do some journaling, some regular writing. If you're like me and you're on the artistic side, maybe you want to do some sketches. Maybe you want to lay out some things. Maybe you are a visual person. So they have some graph paper in here. And then the whole backside is blank pages all together, sketchbook style. Okay. So that's one way you could do it. Maybe you are the person that says, I have nowhere to start. I don't know where to begin. And maybe I need a visual, maybe I need a writing prompt to help me get started. You can pick up something like this. This is a words of wisdom journal full of ideas and art to motivate and inspire. So it has got a prompt. Maybe I'm reading this prompt and giving myself time to think and reflect on it before I start writing. Okay. This is probably one that you want to do maybe um, if you're a person that's sort of, I would say maybe thinking about retiring, you're in a place of reflection in your life and you don't know where to start. You don't know what you want to talk about first. This is a good journal. This Life of Mine. It's a legacy journal. There are all kinds of journals like this, but and I started writing, filling up mine. I'm not putting all my business out here, but they got different sections like animals. Um, I like this one. They've got a section here about career. So maybe you don't fill out the whole thing, but you can go to the section called purpose and just focus on what is my purpose? What do I feel like I'm doing right now? Um, this whole section is about career, mentors in your life, people that you have mentored, someone who was your director or your administrator that you will never forget. So this is guided writing prompts. So you don't necessarily have to get a journal that is just completely blank pages and you don't know where to start. There are all kinds of journals. That's the point that I'm making. And maybe you want something that's very, very simplified. Maybe you want to jot something down every single day and you still want some guidance. This one has got some stickers at the top. Maybe you are focused in on your finances and maybe you're charting, staying on course, staying on track. This would be a great place to do that because you can kind of weekly or daily, you can kind of talk about or think about what has your spending look like for the day. And then you can go back and examine and self reflect. All right. So I hope that I shared something with you today. I hope I said something that was helpful, that was reflective, that got you thinking about your next steps when it comes to setting your own boundaries and supporting yourself. At this time, I'm going to see if I can bring on Mr. Ben. See if we can grab you and bring you on today. And if you're with us for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to thank you for your time and your attention and tuning in. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. Feel free to share this broadcast. I think it does take about 24 hours for this to process fully. Um, so I don't know why YouTube is taking so long to process my videos. probably because they like to examine every single word I'm saying. But it does take about 24 hours for this video to process. So if you want to come back and check, it will be up on tomorrow. Again, we will have the link for the writers intensive, the writing workshop, where we'll be sharing with you some helpful tips on writing, as well as information about self publishing, things that I wish someone had told me about self publishing when I first got into self publishing. I've been 20 years in now, but just some very helpful tips, things you need to know so that you are eliminating errors as you get started in the world of writing. All right, Pastor Ben, do you see that link? It's doing that thing again. Okay, let me try another way. I'm going to try another way. All right, can you see us? Boy, this thing takes me through the ringer. So do you have to log in twice?
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Can you
I
hear me?
can. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Okay. You're
yes.
you're a
Okay,
little low, but
you're
I
a
can
little
hear
low,
you.
but I can hear
Did
you.
you have to go back to the email again? Is that what happened? Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you probably have to try it twice then. You probably have to try it twice.
Okay.
Okay.
But good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good. I got
Good. I
one
got one
question.
question.
Mm-hmm.
Why you
Why
telling
you
my
telling my
business
business
What do you
about
mean?
me
about
leaving
me
stuff in
leaving
the
stuff in the
microwave?
microwave?
That's funny.
But
But
listen, my
listen,
younger
my younger
sister, one of my
sister, one
younger
of my younger
sisters,
sisters,
Mm-hmm.
she taught me
she
about
taught me
me
about
time
me time
Mm-hmm.
because I
because
needed
I
her to do
needed her to
something
do
for me, and
something
I
for me. And
called
I
her. She
called her.
said
She
no,
said no,
and she's not the
and she's
person
not
that
the person
that says
that
no.
says no.
Mm-hmm.
And she said
And she said
today is
today
me
is me
time.
time.
I'm only
I'm
doing
only
for
doing for
myself.
myself.
My whole day
My
is
whole
going to
day
be
is going
about
to be
me.
about me.
I said
I said
okay.
okay.
I didn't have a
I
problem
didn't
with
have a
that.
problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I
But I
started
started
thinking about it. I'm
thinking about
saying,
it.
you
I'm
know
saying,
what?
you know what?
That's what I need
That's
to
what I
do.
need to do.
I need to
I
start
need to
taking
start
some me
taking some
time.
me time.
And I did.
And I did.
Uh, n-
Uh,
Now about
Now about
boundaries,
boundaries,
there's a
there's a
father and
father and
son
son
that I used to
that
do
I used to
work
do
for.
work for.
The father
The
was on
father was
point.
on point.
They each had their
They
own
each had their own
company,
company,
roof repair
roof
and stuff.
repair and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the
But the
son,
son,
a completely
a
different
completely
story.
different story.
He was the
He
one that
was the
would
one that
call
would
you
call
9
you
and 10
9 and
o'clock at
10
night
o'clock at night
concerning something that
concerning
he could have
something that he
called
could have
you
called
with
you
about
with
4 or
about
5
4 or
o'clock in
5
the
o'clock in
evening.
the evening.
Mm-mm.
And I
You know,
kept
and I
saying,
kept
I kept
saying, I kept
talking to him
talking
about
to him
that, man.
about that,
Call
man.
me
Call me
before
before
5:30.
5:30.
He wouldn't do it.
He wouldn't do it.
So when it came
So
time for
when
me
it
to
came time for me
upgrade
to
my
upgrade
phone,
my phone,
they say,
they
hey,
say,
do you
"Hey,
know
do
we're
you know
running a
we're running a
special?
special?
You can get
You
two
can
for
get two
one.
for one.
Buy one and
Buy
get
one
one
and get
free."
one free."
Mm-hmm.
So I said,
So I
okay,
said, "Okay,
did that.
did that."
Now the new
Now the
number I
new number
gave
I
to my
gave to my
family and
family and
friends,
friends,
Okay.
him,
him,
he didn't get
he
it.
didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
5:30,
5:30,
that phone
that
went
phone
off.
went off.
So,
So,
but I
but
think my
I think my
last
last
problem with
problem
him
with him
is that he
is that
called
he
me. I was
called me.
living
I
up
was
in
living up in
Pompano at the
Pompano
time.
at the time.
He called
He
me
called me
wanting me to
wanting me
come
to
to
come to
Fort
Fort
Lauderdale
Lauderdale
to pick up
to pick up
material
material
to go
to go
north of
north of
Pompano
Pompano
to do a
to
job.
do a job.
I told him
I
no.
told him no.
So he called
So
me
he
back a
called me
little
back
bit
a
later
little
and
bit
say,
later, say,
well, listen, I
"Well,
have to come to
listen, I have to
Pompano
come to
anyway.
Pompano anyway."
So I dropped the
So I dropped
material
the
off to
material.
you.
Okay.
Okay. So he
So he
gets there
gets
and I
there,
ask
and
him
I
for
ask
the
him for the
address.
address.
Now he's
Now he's
showing me
showing me
pictures, so I
pictures,
know he
so I
has
know
the
he has
address
the
right in
address
there.
right in there.
Well, I'll give
Well,
it
I'll
to you
give
in the
it to
morning.
you
I
in the
said,
morning. I said,
listen,
"Listen,
I have
I
my
have
job I
my
got to do
job
in
I got to do in
Miami.
Miami.
So I would
So
like to
I
get
would
to
like to
your
get
job
to
about
your job about
7:30,
7:30,
get it
get
done,
this
and then
done,
go do
and then
my
go do
job.
my job."
Now, Greta,
Now,
he's the type of
granted,
person
he's
that
the
don't
type
get
of
up
person
till
that
about
don't get
10
up till
o'clock
about 10 o'clock
in the morning.
in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
6:30 came, didn't
6:30
hear from
came,
him.
didn't hear from him.
7:30, didn't hear
7:30,
from him.
didn't hear from him.
8 o'clock, I
8
headed to
o'clock, I
Miami.
headed to Miami.
When he called me
When he
about,
called me
I think it
about,
was about
I think it was about
9:57 or something like
9:57 or
that.
something like that.
I was doing
I
my
was
job.
doing my job.
Where are you?
Where
I
are
said, I'm
you?
on my
I said,
job.
I'm on my job.
Why didn't you call me?
Why
I
didn't
said,
you
why
call
didn't you
me? I
give me
said,
the
why didn't you
address
give me
last
the
night?
address last night?
But you should have called me.
But
I
you
say,
should have
no,
called me. I say,
you
no,
should have given
you
me the
should have
address
given
when
me
I
the
asked
address when
for it.
I asked for it.
You know you don't
You
get up
know
to
you
10
don't get
o'clock.
up to 10 o'clock.
I told you what I
I
had to
told you what
do.
I had to do.
This is your business.
Business, not mine. In your business for you.
I'm
Work for you, but I'm not running your business. Your
taking care of your
business.
business.
His
His
dad,
dad, complete opposite.
his dad
His
called me,
dad
want me
called
to
me,
do a
want me to
job
do
for
a
him
job for him
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
He's going to
He's
give
going to
me
give me
all the
all the
information I need
information I
right
need
now.
right now.
I'll ask him
I'll
what's the
ask him,
earliest I
what's the
can be
earliest I
there.
can be there.
He'll let me
He'll
know,
let
or
me know.
he
Or
said, let me
he said,
check.
let me check.
He'll make a phone
He'll make a
call,
phone call,
get right
get
back to
right
me.
back to me.
Oh, when they
Oh,
say you
when
can
they say
start
you can
about
start about
7:30.
7:30.
Okay,
Okay.
you
You
know.
know,
And then
then
he'll
he'll
say,
say,
well,
well,
let
let
me
me
know
know
when
when
you're
you're
heading
heading
there,
there
and
and
I'll
I'll
meet
meet
you
you
on
on
the
the
job.
job.
His
His
dad
dad
was
was
up
up
early,
early,
and
and
the
the
younger
younger
one
one
didn't
didn't
have
have
any
any
children
children
at
at
the
the time.
time.
So it
So it
wasn't where the
wasn't where the
baby kept
baby
me up
kept me
all
up
night.
all night.
It wasn't
It
one of
wasn't one of
those.
those.
So,
So,
you know,
you know,
I just
I
had to
just had
cut
to cut
myself away
myself
from him
away from him
because, you know,
because,
it's like
it's like
you're
you're
deliberately
deliberately
ignoring and
ignoring and
disrespecting my
disrespecting my
boundaries.
boundaries.
And see that right there? I think someone said there was a question online the other day that said, what is some random thing that makes you absolutely angry?" And I had to think about it. And probably my random thing that makes me absolutely angry is people not appreciating my time. And it can be anyone. It doesn't necessarily even have to be business related. But like if I go into a store, right? And I see the people taking an absolute unnecessary amount of time to do the simple things, it makes me angry. I don't know. I just, case in point, if you go to a grocery store, this is just an example. If you go to a grocery store and there's only one person in line in front of you, and the cashier is picking up stuff like this and scanning it. Listen, I will be out of your line so fast. I'd be like, let me go to self
Hmm.
checkout. Because that right there, I'm like, do you not want your job? Do you not enjoy your job? Because it feels like you're stalling. Like you don't want to get to the next customer. And I'm like, I have things to do. And I
Hmm.
think sometimes people forget that yes, you might be in a service setting and they might be serving you, but it's like they forget that this person in front of me, might actually be on a schedule. So they don't have 15 minutes for you to ring up five things.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you politely tell them, can you pick up the pace a little bit because I have somewhere else I have to be? And then you get an attitude because I'm telling you to pick up the pace.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's one of my
that's
problems
one of my
too.
problems too.
This is why I use self checkout all the time. People are like, "Oh, well, I'm already getting the food. I ain't going over there and checking it out myself." I'm like, give me the self checkout, please and thanks. That's less hands on my products as well. That's
Mm-hmm.
less germs coming from the other person on the other side of the counter. Give me the self checkout. I'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel about it. But yeah,
Yep.
Yep.
me time is super important. Um, I think everybody should have me time. My husband, I think probably in the past 3 or 4 years, I think he's finally gotten the memo, and now he is enjoying all of his me time, and it's great to see. Like, I love to see my husband. I know he loves to see himself working. I get it. I'm like, hey, Mr. Bill. Like, I ain't gonna discourage that, right? Um, but I love to see him relaxed. I love to see him, you know, with his feet up, doing a foot massage, doing his back repair stuff with a warmer in his robe. Like, that just makes my heart swell. I like serving him. I like fixing his plate, making sure his food is together, making him a smoothie so he can just lay back and relax because men, let me say this really loudly. Men need me time too. That doesn't involve the bros. There's bro time. He gets some of that, and there's me time. He's not really into the bro time stuff, but he does do it because I'm like, you need to. Sometimes you need to go be with the bros. Um, but men need me time too. So men, don't skimp out on that. Don't skimp out on that. Don't skimp out on the self care. Don't skimp out on the manicure. Don't skimp out on the pedicure. I see more men now, thankfully, getting the pedicure so that you're not scratching up the sheets and tearing into your sheets with your toenails. It's okay. You're not going to lose your man card for clipping your toenails, brother. Okay? Go get that taken care of. Okay? Scrub those heels. Let them get buffed. It's all right. It's all right. She will trust me. She will appreciate it. She will even want to touch your foot when you go get it scrubbed. Okay? Don't make her have to choose. All right?
Woo.
Don't make her have to choose. Just hey, I got something new for you to try out over here. It's all smooth. You can touch my feet now. All right? So just a little that was free 99. Free 99.
But you know
But
what?
you know what?
One of the
One of the
problems with
problems with
men,
men,
well, I'm not gonna say
well, I'm
problems
not
with
gonna say
men,
problem with men,
is that a lot of
is
men
that
are
a
with
lot of men are
women
with women
that don't want them to
don't
have
want
that
them to
me
have
time,
that me time.
Mm, child. You
and
better
they need to
And they need to
understand.
understand.
They need to understand
They need
a
to understand. A
man needs that
man needs
space.
that space.
He needs to
He
just
needs to just
find
find
his peace
his
within
peace
himself
within himself
sometimes,
sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
just
Just
relax,
relax.
and then you get
Then
the
you get the
best him that
best
you're
him
gonna
that you're
get.
gonna get.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But when
But when
he can't
he
get that,
can't get that,
you're just getting
you're just
remnants.
getting remnants.
His body needs
His
time to
body needs time to
recharge,
recharge,
recuperate.
recuperate.
His mind
His
needs to
mind needs to
relax.
relax.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to
He needs to
find that inner
find that
person,
inner
that inner
person, that
peace,
inner peace,
Have
Have
conversations with them.
conversations with them.
Let them relax.
Let them
Build them
relax.
up.
Build them up.
Especially if you ain't
Especially
helping
if
to
you
build
ain't
it up.
helping to build it up.
Mhm.
He needs to build
He
that
needs to
up.
build that up.
Then he can come
Then
through
he can come
refreshed.
through refreshed.
Yep. And July will be 25 years of marriage for us, and I'm still growing. I'm still learning. Um, your spouse is going to grow. Your partner is going to grow.
Hmm.
There are going to be things about their attitudes and their moods that might shift and might change. That's where communication comes in. And sometimes, because we stay in touch with each other throughout the day, I may call in the morning and I may call and check on him around lunchtime and say, hey, how are you doing? How's your day going? If he's having a really rough day or he's having someone that is contentious with a project or whatever, I kind of know that when he comes home, he might want to unwind a little bit. He might want to decompress a little bit. So even if I have something pressing that I need to share with him, I try to give him that space to decompress rather than as soon as he comes in the door, putting more pressure on the pressure that was there. That comes with communication with your partner, getting to know
Hmm.
your partner, getting to know what their triggers are, understanding when, certain things are brought up in rapid succession, it can be overwhelming for them. Some people, they can handle it. They're like, hey, let me have it all at once, you know? And then other people, their position could be, I need to decompress, I need to wind down a little bit, and then let's talk. Again, that's communication. It's not the same with everybody, but you
Hmm.
can figure it out through communication and talking with your partner. Not saying, well, this is how Tommy Lee do it. Tommy Lee don't
Listen,
have no
Listen,
problem hearing from his wife the first thing he come home. Ma'am, sir,
listen.
don't do
listen.
that.
I was in a
I was in a
situation
situation
to where
to where
all I
all I
needed
needed
was about
was about
15 to
15 to
30
30
minutes
minutes,
way
way
back in
back
the
in the
day
day
now.
now, of Super
Super
Tech
Tecmo
Mobile.
Bowl.
I'm
I'm
working at
working
a
at a
print
print
shop.
shop.
It's
It's
high
high
stress
stress
all
all
day
day
long,
long,
especially
especially
once I
once I
got
got
in
it
as a
as a
production
production
manager.
manager.
Good morning, Maria.
Just wanted
Just
to
wanted
come
to come
home,
home,
and that's
and
what
that's what
unwinded me.
unwinded me.
Mhm.
But I would hear
But I would hear
complaints.
complaints.
You in here
You in
playing
here
that game,
playing that game,
and all this other
all this
stuff. I
other
mean,
stuff. I
come
mean,
on.
come on.
You see
You
what I
see what
do.
I
You
do.
know the
You
type
know
of
the
work
type
I
of
do.
work I
You know
do.
how
You
high
know how high
stressful it
stressful
is.
it is.
But now you're adding
Now you're
more.
adding more.
Now, after that
Now, after that
situation, I
situation,
was in another
I was in
situation
another
where it was
situation where it was
totally opposite.
totally opposite.
More like
More
you.
like you.
Put your feet
Put
up.
your feet up.
It-
Yeah.
I loved
I loved
Arizona sweet tea.
Arizona sweet tea.
Here you go.
Here you go.
You know,
You know, it's,
it's one thing
it's
to
one
know
thing to know
the
the
triggers
triggers
and
and
deliberately trigger
deliberately
them,
trigger them,
Mhm.
but it's completely
but it's
different
completely
if you know
different
the
if you know
triggers
the triggers
and you
and you
disarm those
disarm
triggers.
those triggers.
And let
See,
me
with
say this,
With
kindness.
kindness.
and let me say this as we close, because I know I'm gonna say this in the most kindest way I can. If you're going to be in a relationship with a man in 2025, then I want you to reach across and understand what that masculinity and what's happening with masculinity right now. I need you to start learning what's happening with masculinity right now. I'm talking about healthy masculinity and toxic masculinity. Because what I'm finding and what I'm seeing is there are some really good men who are starting to get pulled into toxic masculinity. They're starting to get pulled into it. They're starting to get pulled into um, these narratives that there are no good women. They're starting to get pulled into these narratives that women only want one thing. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, July for us will be 25 years of marriage. 25 happy, humorous, enlivening, fun, enjoyable years of marriage. But I'm going to say this very honestly. I had to learn men, and I had to grow in my learning of men, and I had to be willing to understand that men change, that the 30-year-old that I married is not the same 50 plus man that I'm married to now. His needs have changed. The way he cares about his body has changed. It has had to because he's getting older. So there's other emphasis that he is placing on things that require him to be more structured, more diligent, more intent on if he's going to stay healthy as he continues to get older. I can't be upset and be like, "Oh, you spending more time in the gym?" Yes, he is. And he should. And he should. That's the key there. And he should. I shouldn't want his health to deteriorate, right? So then that means I've got to make some adjustments. Now, am I going to be spending as much time as he's spending in the gym? Probably not. I'm just being real. Probably not. I'm probably not. But when he says, I would like you to come down and just look at me work out. Oh, you know I'm coming down, right? I'm coming down there. I just want you nearby as I'm working out. I'm coming down. I am going to come down. I'm going to come down with my cup of coffee in my book. And I'm going to sit and I'm going to watch him and I'm going to read my book. And he going to have his gym music blasting and I'm still going to read my book. And then there'll be other times because I do my own workout. But there are times when he wants me to be in workout with him. So I'll come down. I'll do my little circuit, which is nowhere near his circuit. And he's looking at me like, "Oh, that's so cute. That is so cute." Right? But I'm doing it, right? And so it's really you making the effort, right? Making the choice to be active and engaged and involved with your partner.
Hmm.
Because he can either watch me or he can watch other things. But the reality is, what's my place in this? What's my responsibility in the relationship? I am the one who committed to it. I am the one who covenanted to be in relationship. So even in, and we're still talking about boundaries, even in boundary setting, communication is important. So he already knows, okay, I'm not coming down here all the time with you because I like to do my own workout without eyes. And I'm not that person. Like, I work out, but I am not the video content creator making workout videos. That's not my thing. I don't feel like I need to do that. He's not either. He'll show like process pictures at the end. So you have to figure out, okay, what's my boundaries? What can I agree on? What can I compromise with? Because you're in a relationship, boundary people. And even in boundaries, even in relationships, you still have to communicate what your boundaries are. But in relationships, you also got to say, how can we compromise? How can this be a win win for both of us? So, you got a little bonus here at the end. Final thoughts.
Whew.
Whew.
Now we went
Now
through
we went through
boundaries, we went
boundaries, we
through
went
me
through me
time,
time,
and we went
and
through
we went through
relationship
relationship
counseling.
counseling.
But it's all
But it's
dealing
all
with
dealing with
boundaries.
boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
You set
You
your
set your
boundaries,
boundaries,
but not
but
so
not so
strict
strict
if you're in a
if you're in a
relationship
relationship
that it
that it
completely blocks
completely
the other
blocks
person
the
out.
other person out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you
Now,
said
you
something
said
that
something
many
that
people
many
need to pay
people need to
attention
pay
to.
attention to.
You
You
involve
involve
yourself
yourself
in his
in his
activities,
activities,
no matter how
no matter
small
how
it may
small it
be.
may be.
You involve
You
yourself
involve
in. If
yourself
it's
in. If it's
just sitting in there
just
reading
sitting
a
in there
book and
reading a book and
drinking some
drinking
coffee,
some coffee,
you're
you're
there.
there.
Sometimes that's
Sometimes
all a
that's
man
all a
wants,
man wants,
is for you to
is for you
be
to
there
be there
Mm-hmm.
while he's
while he's
participating in
participating
something.
in something.
That makes him
That
feel
makes
that
him
you're a
feel that
part of
you're a
what's
part of
happening.
what's happening.
You don't have to
You
be
don't have to
active
be
in it all the
active in it
time,
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
just your
Just your
presence.
presence.
Mm-hmm.
So, ladies,
So,
that's a
ladies,
tip.
that's a tip.
Yeah,
Your
sometimes I gotta,
Your
you know,
presence.
presence.
and sometimes I gotta put my book down, cause
Well,
What?
listen, let's not go
Listen,
there.
let's not go there. The gym being there at the house.
I'm just gonna say sometimes I gotta put my book down, and I
Look,
gotta go check out the process, ladies. Gotta check out the process. Mm-hmm. Gotta be a little cheerleader, and then I go back and read my book. But again, I'm there. I'm there. Sometimes I'll come in.
hmm
Sometimes I'll go in there and I'll encourage them and say, "Hey, can you do a few more pull ups? Can you do can you put a little bit more iron on the rack? Hey, can you do 10 more pounds? Right? So I'm not necessarily having to be um, fully activated in that process, like you said, but I am there, and I do my own workouts. So it's not like we just have a gym. He's only ever in the gym, and I'm never in there. No, I have a responsibility for my health process. He has a
hmm
responsibility for his health process. I hope this was helpful today. This has been another episode of Daring Dialogues, and I've been your host today, Shantae Charles. I do want to thank you for your time and attention. We are way over time. We usually do not go over an hour, but I wanted to make sure that we had this conversation. Tomorrow, we are going to be back, and it will be Thinking Thursday. Thinking Thursday. And we are on the topic of forgiveness, self forgiveness. All right. Remember, light is the most daring opposition to darkness. So continue to go out and be what?
Light.
Light.
Light. Take care, everyone. Be well, and most importantly, be light.